So we can get started. Welcome back. So we took 27 sessions and went through all the 72 verses of chapter 2. Chapter 2 is such an important chapter of the Bhagavad Gita because as I always recap in 5 minutes every session, second chapter is the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. So today, what I propose to do is just scan through all the topic, give an open forum. If you have any doubt or any words is not clear, we can talk about that. And I know I didn't talk to you, but if you could just chant that chapter by taking 15-20 minutes, that also would be great. So
sure, Rajesh.
Excellent. So with that, we can get started. So I'm going to recap all the 72 verses in 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. This chapter is such an important chapter. So if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in and ask that question. Or if you want to clarify something, because no session can be a complete session. I cannot cover all the topics. A, due to my own ignorance. B, due to every session is different. So if you feel that if I missed anything, please bring it up. We can discuss that. One thing I would request between now and next week is, if you can just scan through the verses and if you are not clear, please bring it up. Because since we are doing this deep learning study, we need to make sure that at least this chapter is clearly understood. So the first 10 verses, which is the first portion of the second chapter, is again a recap of the problem statement. When I typically do the summary, I just say that it is the problem statement. So let's go back and revisit that problem statement once again, because we did that at the beginning. So now let's go back and revisit it to see whether that makes sense to you. Because you have learned the entire chapter, so you could relate to it much better now. So any human being, whether it is a Rajesh or an Arjuna or a Rohitji or a Mahesh or a Jeena or Radhika, it doesn't matter. As long as we live in this time and space, we have to interact with the world. I cannot say that I am Sachidananda Atma, so I'm not going to pay my mortgage. That's not possible. I have to take care of the education of my kids. Even if I'm a sannyasi, I have to make sure that I'm doing something. Nobody can sit in the world without doing something. So when you transact with so it's impossible. As long as you are alive and conscious, you will have to transact with the world outside. You may think that when I retire, what is going to happen? Even after retirement life, you may have to deal with several situations. I'm not saying that problem. We have to deal with different types of situation. The transaction with the world means you cannot avoid the transaction with the world. And when you transact with the world, right, you are interacting with people, you're interacting with situations, you're interacting with challenges. It put a lot of challenges in front of us as human beings. What exactly is the challenges, the manifestation of this challenge? One is delusion. You don't know what needs to be done. You don't know what is right, what is not right. You don't know how to face it. You don't want to do it, but you have to do it. So you are not able to do several things. One, you are not sure sometimes what I should do in this situation. That's a fundamental problem. You don't know when you do, you don't know like how you can put yourself into that action completely. For example, you know that I need to study for my promotion, but you cannot. You want to do it, but you cannot. That's the second issue. A, there's a confusion in what action I select. B, whenever, even after my selection, I'm confused or I'm not able to put myself 100% into that action. C, what is the problem? After putting my best effort, you get some reaction. When you may get some reaction from the people around you. You may get some reaction or some result of the actions you have done, most of the times you find, I cannot accept that. This is the whole human problem. If you really boil it up, bucket it up, this is the problem. And this is what Vyasa brilliantly says. It is shoka and moha. This is the fundamental problem. Shoka means emotional overwhelming. Like it's not just the sadness. Sometimes it is anxiety. Sometimes it is worry. Your emotional level is not at the appropriate level. See, the definition of emotional intelligence by Daniel Goldman. I always use that definition. It is fantastic. It is appropriate emotion proportional to circumstances. So you get into that out of control state. So that is one problem. Second is what? As a result of that, the delusion comes. Delusion comes means I don't have clarity. I don't know what to do. It means I speak what I should not be speaking for. So this shoka and moha, emotional overwhelming and delusion is the fundamental problem each one of us have. And what is the root cause of it? Vyasa do a deep dive into that, and he says that the binding attachment is the root cause of this, which is called raga. So raga, which is the binding attachment, will lead to shoka and moha. This is the problem statement Gita put in front of us. And this is equally valuable to the people of Africa in 20 years back or 100 years back. And it is equally applicable to the people working in Wall Street right now. So what is the solution? What is the solution to this fundamental human problem? So if you remember, when we started the first chapter, I always used to emphasize a lot, saying that if you take Gita as a problem faced by Arjuna and during the Mahabharata battle, we are not going to get Gita. Gita is not just addressed to Arjuna. Gita is addressed to all the people. So people who are suffering with moha and shoka, emotional overwhelming, and as well as the delusion, people who are going through this binding attachment, to such people this Gita is addressed. So this is the problem statement of the first 10 verses. But what is the problem now? Of course, once you recognize the problem in you, because you think that Arjuna had that problem, I don't have that problem. No, I too have that problem. If you don't get the expected rating from your boss, you're upset. If you don't get the promotion, you're upset. You want the promotion, you want to put effort, but I cannot put the effort. And I don't know whether I should continue this career or that career, pursue that career. I don't know what I should do for my daughter or son. All these problems are there. So you need to have this ability to select appropriate action. Once you select action, you should have the skill to execute that action properly. And once you do that, once you get the result, you have the ability to face it equanimously or diligently. So these are the 3 skills taught by Gita. Interestingly, this is a big research in the modern psychology. There is a beautiful book called Grit, G-R-I-T. This book is written by Angela Duckworth. She's a very famous modern psychologist. Angela Duckworth's Grit. This book exactly talking about this particular subject. So, but I'm saying that this is very, very, very modern, but it is not so modern. It is exactly the same thing addressed by the Bhagavad Gita in a much profound way. So once this problem is addressed, Arjuna was a victim of the Mahabharata battle, but you and I may not have that problem with the Mahabharata battle, but we all have a battle to each. Everyday life is a battle. Some problem, we may have solution. So remember, the approach we have to do is whatever you have, means whenever you face a situation, you should have the courage and strength to change whatever you can change. You should have the grace to accept what you cannot change. And you should have the serenity to accept what you cannot change. And finally, you should have the wisdom to determine what can you change, what you cannot change. And without having that clarity of vision, you cannot do that. I try to change everything I cannot change, and I do nothing where I can change. And I have zero wisdom in understanding what I can change and what I cannot change. So this is what this common human problem. So Gita's role or any scripture's role is to help us, to guide us, to give that clarity in me. So that, remember, the Gita's goal is Gita's goal is two, right? One is called Apyudaya, the other one is called Nishreya. Apyudaya means econo-socio welfare, and Nishreya means the highest goals of life, which is the spiritual goals. So in one lifestyle, Gita is going to give me both these goals. One is success in the external world and success in the internal world. So this is what, see, if you remember, when we started second chapter, I read through the whole Shankara's introduction, that first part. And Shankara said, Praninam Sachat Apyudaya Nishreyasa Hetuhu. This dharma of the Gita is going to lead you to these two goals. So this is the first portion you can see. And what is the greatness of Arjuna compared to each one of us? Arjuna recognized this problem. When Krishna initially started talking, Arjuna recognized this problem and he approached the right person for help. Most of us, we don't do that. We realize the problem, we don't do that. So that's why I said, like one verse, Karpanya dosho pahatas sabhava, prischami tvam dharma sammuta cheta. That verse is very important verse of the Gita. So Arjuna approached the right person. We never do that. So this is another lesson. Once you recognize you have a problem, everybody should have. This is what we always say. Bhagavan Buddha brilliantly summarized this. Buddham saranam gacchami. If there is a great master in front of you, you approach him. If that master is not there, you should just go with the dharmam. Dharmam means that what is taught by the great masters. And if that is also not there, be in company with the sangham, the right people. So these three is going to help you. So this is what you have to sharanagati, or surrender to the wisdom of the scriptures or masters. And you don't tell me that you don't have a guru, right? When you feel for the need of this teaching, you would see that the teachers will come in front of you. I had that experience multiple times. So you would get it. Just have that will and it will happen. So this was the first topic. Then the second portion of the second chapter is having defined the problem. The problem is how to remove these problem of moha and shoka, meaning emotional instability and delusion. How to solve that, and binding attachment. Raga, which is going to lead to shoka and moha. So how that can be addressed? Krishna is going to talk about that in three different point of views, which will start from verse 11 to verse 36. This is the second topic covered in the second chapter. Verse 11 to verse 37. I'm sorry. 37 is a summary of that. So three different point of views. What is the solution? The ultimate solution is the spiritual solution. So the same problem is addressed from the Adhyatmika Drishti, or the spiritual point of view. The same problem then is addressed from Dharmika Drishti, from the point of view of Swadharma. And the same problem finally is addressed to the Laukika Drishti, worldly point of view. So the three different point of view is presented. 11 to 30 is the Adhyatmika point of view. 30 to 33 is the Dharmika point of view. And 34 to 36 is Laukika point of view. You can see that majority of the solution is given from the Adhyatmika point of view. So from the Adhyatmika, or the spiritual point of view, Krishna clearly states that who you are, what belongs to you, that is the difference, he said. Right? It's a big topic. He said, essentially who you are. Typically, I consider myself as my body, and that is the biggest cause for this binding attachment and shoka and moha. So that Vedantic perspective is explained from verse 11 to verse 36. So the key topics we studied there is the difference between the physical body, the soul, and the Atma, and who I am, and then what belongs to me. So this was the key topic. And the nature of the Atma, what it means, which is our real nature, is elaborately discussed. Actually, we heard that the Atma Nityaha, it's Nityaha means what? It's eternal. Atma Satyaha means absolute. Atma Sarvagataha, all pervading. Atma Ekaha, there is only one Atma. And Atma Sanatanaha, it is ancient. Atma means Achaloyaha, it is immovable. All these characteristics we heard. And the nature of the Atma is Satyam Jnanam Anandam. Satyam means it is absolute. Jnanam means knowledge. And Anandam means it is infinite. And its nature is Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, and absolute contentment. This is the nature of the Atma. And if you remember the Swapna Drishtanta, this point is very clear. The body is essential to me in transacting with this world, because the world I live right now, let's say that this is the earth. In this world, for me to interact, I need the body. But I do have an existence outside of the world. So I gave you the same example of a telephone. For you to talk to another person in that telephone network, right? That telephone is absolute must have. If I don't have that telephone, I'm not existent to that world at all. Correct? But am I the telephone? Absolutely not. The telephone is a gadget given to me. So like that, this body and the mind is a gadget given to me. So we spend a lot of time. We spend a lot of time in understanding what is the physical body, the Sthula Sharira, and what is the subtle body, the soul, and what is Atma. And we said that what is the entity that gets died or perished at the time of the death? We saw that it is physical body. And what is that entity which get transmigrated, which is the soul? And what is that entity which do not have any change, which is the Atma? We spend a lot of time. We took even a couple of offline sessions, right? If you remember that. This is such an important topic. If you have any doubt or if you need to do one more catch-up session, I'm happy to do that, but this is very important to understand. And this is the essence of Vedanta. Those who come to the Atma Bodha class, you might have seen an in-depth study of this topic. So you can always listen to that Atma Bodha talks also. So that is very important. So this is the Adhyatmika Drishti. So wonderful verses we saw, right? Ashocyan means, I think the verse, the whole chapter means the topic got introduced, right? Tamuvacha Rishikesha Prahasanniva Bharata. Krishna started, Arjuna was just desperate. Krishna started started introducing this topic with a smile. That smile indicates that he was completely in control of that situation. That is how this started. Brilliant verses we saw, right? Natve vaham jatunasham natvam neme janadibaha nachaivat napavishyamaha sarve vayamata param. Brilliant verse. Like, there was not a time I was not there. There is not going to be a time I will cease to exist. This shows the eternity of Atma. Then we saw what exactly that is changing. We saw that, right? Dehi tosmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehandara praptir thiras tatra namukhyati. The sixfold modification belongs to the body, not on the Atma. So that part we saw. And then what is the pleasure and pain? We saw that, right? Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada agama apayinaha anityaha tam titikshasva bharata. So we saw what is titiksha. It's a brilliant quality of the mind. So all these verses. Then we saw two brilliant verses. Avinashitu tat vithim ena sarvamitam yatam vinasham avyasyasya nakaschit kartum arhasi. This absolute reality, which is the Atma, which is pervading everywhere, it is indestructible. And in his commentary, Shankaracharya tells even God cannot destroy this. That is the word, that is the language he has used. So that is brilliant, right? And then nasato vidyate bhavu na bhavu vidyate sataha upayor abhidrashtonda stanayor tattvadarshinihi. The absolute, there is no destruction or change for the absolute. And for the impermanent, there is no existence. So we saw that, right? The real means the raw means when you take the gold and the ornament, the real existence of the gold ornament is always gold. And the ornament, which is a name some form, it is only a name and form. So that, see, the modern physics just perplexes in front of Vedanta when you see these type of verses. A lot of scientists used to quote these verses. Brilliant. Like even now, it is standing in front of the science, right? It is brilliant verses. And which, when we saw, right, the nature of the Atma, najayate mriyate va kadajit, nayam bhuktva bhavita va na bhuyaha, ajo nitya shashwatoyam purano, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. When the body get destroyed, means the Atma, nothing going to happen. Nothing is going to happen to Atma. So that verse is very popular. It is a copy from the Kathopanishad, I said, right? That is another thing. And then we heard what exactly is the transmigration with a brilliant example. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya. That was brilliant, right? Navani grihnati naruparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navadi dehi. That was the transmigration. Just like you change a cloth, like that the soul, means the soul changes a cloth from one physical body to the other. If you remember, at that point of time, we took a pause. We did 3 sessions elaborating the doctrine of karma in detail. We went through that in detail, right? We went through the like independent, dependent variable analysis. We saw like what are all the factors that influences a karma, how the karma gets accumulated, what is sanchita karma, what is prarabdha karma, what is agami karma, how do you take transmigration happens, all that we saw. And we saw, right, how karma gets manifested in my life, like in the form of a current. We went back to Mahabharata and used a brilliant discussion between Draupadi and the Yudhishthira to study this. So that is another topic we did during this time, if you remember. And then actually there are some couple of other brilliant verses. If you don't think that you are Atma, if you think yourself as the subtle body, then what? Jatasya he dhruvu mrityu, dhruvam janma niratasya cha. Whoever that is born, he'll get die. Tasmat apariharyarthe natvam shochitam arhasi. Means there is no point in worrying over the facts which cannot be changed. Those are some brilliant verses. To pick a few, means I picked some 7 or 8 verses, but these are the beauty of the second chapter is almost all the verses are brilliant. And then we came to the second topic, which is the dharmic point of view. The dharmic point of view is what? You have to do the sudharma. So we had a long discussion on sudharma. What is sudharma? And we talked about what is dharma. Dharma means what needs to be done for an individual, right? So there is a physical order of the universe. What is the natural order of the universe? For example, like if you put a stone down, it will come down at 9.8 second per second. So that acceleration is the natural order of the universe. That is a physical order. Like that, there is a physical order, social order, bio order. So many dharmas are there. So I have to conform to this dharma for living an efficient life. So I need to understand what is my sudharma and follow that. That is my duty and that is my dharma. So remember, we had a long discussion. I quoted Natarajaguru, one of the famous saint in India. So his point of view was everybody has to identify their own sudharma, meaning you cannot compare the apple with an orange. That is his brilliant example. The quality of an apple fruit has to be compared, or the performance of an apple fruit has to be compared with another apple fruit, not with an orange. So the sudharma of a warrior would be different from the sudharma of a teacher. So this is very important. So it is important that I should understand my swadharma and follow that. And later point of time, you see in Gita, there is a process by which is going to help you to identify your swadharma. So we'll wait for that, but Gita itself is going to tell you some simple techniques by which you can identify what is my swadharma. So this topic we discussed. And finally, from a Laukika perspective, from a worldly perspective, still I have to do my duty and I cannot run away from my life. So Krishna said people are going to talk about wrong things. That is from a pure Laukika angle, worldly point of view. So having said that, we know that, okay, we need to follow this lifestyle, a particular lifestyle. We need to achieve something. For that, you need to follow something. And what is that? He introduced that what part as yoga. So yoga is introduced in the third topic. So the first topic is the problem statement. Second problem is the solution from three different point of view. Means Adhyatmika, Dharmika, and Laukika. And the third topic is the yoga. The yoga is from 38 to 53 is yoga. Brilliantly explained what is yoga. Initially, Krishna gives a little bit of marketing on the yoga. He said this yoga is not binary, like you get the final result or you don't get anything. No, whatever you practice, it is going to give that much benefit. Swalpam arpyasya dharmasya trayate mahado bhaya. That is the brilliant verse he has given. And then he condemned also a little bit about blindly following scriptures. So if you remember that verses from the second chapter, revolutionary verses from the second chapter, Krishna ridiculed people who blindly follow Veda for going to heaven and achieving only the material benefits. Yamimam pushpitam vacham prapasanti vipaschitaha Veda vadarada partha na anyat artha iti vadinaha. So that's a brilliant. It's a flowery verse of the unwise. That is how Krishna quotes such people. And then he brilliantly introduced the role of a scripture. He said the scripture is only a means, not an end. Vedo avedo bhavati. The Vedas talk about that. The Veda becomes Aveda once you gain the knowledge. Once you reach a destination, it's like a pole vault. Once you cross that height, what is the, if you hold on to the pole, it is going to be backfire. It is going to backfire only. So that is what that rule is. Then actually he introduces the karma yoga, the details of the karma yoga. Karmani, this is second chapter, verse 47. If you study only one verse from the second chapter, make sure that you remember this verse. Karmani evaha adhikaraha tvi ma phaleshu kadajana ma karma phala hedurbohu ma de sangos tvakarmani. So this is the karma yoga. Means the choice or the control I have is only on the action, not on the results. Ma phaleshu kadajana. Therefore, know that you are not the direct authors of the result. The only way you can influence the result is performing the action as best as you can. So focus more on where you have control, and in spite of your best effort, whatever you get, you accept it positively. This is, means I quoted a lot of modern management theories, modern theories coming by the efficiency theory, linking this to even the flow, the concept of flow. Means I quoted a book called Flow. The name of the book itself is Flow, the science of optimal performance. It's there in our library. Anybody wants to read it. That's a brilliant book. Everywhere you see, whenever you are obsessed with the results of action, what is going to happen? It is going to influence your performance. So this is such a valuable lesson. And then we heard three definitions of yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate on verse 48. The equanimity of mind. It is, you cannot just be equanimous. It is through the practice. And then on verse 50, you heard yogaha karmasu kaushalam. The efficiency in action. So when you talk about efficiency, that efficiency we defined brilliantly, right? So that efficiency is, one is the selection of appropriate action. You should know what is to be done, what is not to be done, what is to be done differently. So that is the first selection. Second is, once you select it, you have to execute it brilliantly. In the commentary, it is said that plan out your work. Plan it properly so that you are selecting only the appropriate work, and work out your plan. Plan out your work and work out your plan. The former without latter, just planning, is a sheer waste of time. And planning means the working without planning is what? Unproductive confusion. So this is the brilliance of that verse. Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Efficiency in action. And then on verse 53, we heard that samatha vachala buddhir tada yogam avapsyasi. When the mind get into that stable mental state, the most stable mental state, that time you get into yoga. So this is what up to the teaching. At that point of time, Arjuna had a question. Is this practical? If a man reaches this higher state, how is he going to deal with the world outside? So that is why he asked this famous question, Stita prajnasya ka bhasha, samathistasya keshava, stita tihim prabhashena, kimasita vrajeta kim. So what is the characteristics of a person of Stita Prajna? Stita Prajna means, I said like Nya means the one who has knowledge. Prajna means it's a special knowledge about himself. So a person who is known himself properly, what is his action? So 18 verses were given, which is the final portion. So the fourth portion. So if you remember, the first portion was the problem statement. The second problem was the solution from three different point of view: Adhyatmika Drishti, Dharmika Drishti, Laukika Drishti. And the third thing is the yoga explained. And the final one is the man of steady wisdom. His characteristics is explained. So these are the four major topics covered in the second chapter. So we heard that a person who do not have the binding desires, he is known as, his prajna is said to be steady. Prajahadi yada kaman sarvan partham anogatan atmani eva atmana tushtaha stita prajnasya tochyati. That we heard. Then we heard dukkeshu anudvignamanaha. Whenever there is some sorrow happens, he is not sunk in that sorrow forever. Of course, he will have sorrow, but he will get out of it. Sukheshu vikadaspraha. When something happens, he is not just elated and stay there always. Vita raga phaya krota. One who has control over all the emotion, raga, phaya and krota. Stita tirmani richyate. So like that, he said like ethasam harate chayam. He's equated like a turtle who has complete control, like his sense objects will come out when there is no danger. So at will, he has the control. Like that example is given. And then we heard like a brilliant example. We talked about a slippery slope, right? What happens means initially you think about the sense objects, that will become a binding desire. The binding desire will become attachment. That attachment may lead to anger or emotional overwhelming. And from there, what is going to happen? You may get, you lose your intelligence, and such a person will pranashyati. So that slippery slope is addressed. So then a solution, like a man of realization, right? He means Krishna said, so what? Like he who is free from raga dvesha. It's not that one who do not have raga dvesha, one who has control over the likes and dislikes, and who means follow karma yoga, right? He will eventually reach the destination. So this is the whole man of realization. But I want to pause there and say that the whole thing, initially we all start as a bhogi. A bhogi means a person who is subjected to the changing world, who is influenced or who is impacted by the change happening in the world outside. He is a bhogi. So from there we turn into a yogi. A yogi means we are committed to this path. We wanted to get out of these problems. Raga and shoka and moha. So we put our effort, but we are not at there. And then finally, once you reach there, you're known as a jnani. So these are the three different states. A bhogi will initially turn into a yogi, and that yogi will turn into a jnani. So this is the three steps. And how do you do that? We talked about the 3 steps. First thing is the knowledge, whatever knowledge talked is will not work unless you have a prerequisite. And what is that prerequisite? It is a pure mind and it is a stable mind. The practice of karma yoga is going to give you that purity of the mind. And the practice of upasana yoga, which we will learn later in the 6th chapter onwards, it is going to give you that stability of the mind. Once you have a stable and a pure mind, chitta shuddhi and chitta studdhi, the knowledge will work, and that is what is going to make you a jnani. So this is the key topics addressed in the Gita. So this is the entire summary of the Gita, because from chapter 3 onwards, it is elaboration of these topics. So that's a 30-minute summary of the chapter. I picked up some of the important verses also. So let me pause here. Anybody has any comments or questions or anything you want to add? A lot of people studied here, so you can always add any topic.
Yeah, Rajesh.
Yes, Rohitji.
The raga dvesa are the two dvandas. Raga means binding desire.
Mhm.
And what does the dvesa mean?
Dvesha means like, see, raga means the binding desire to acquire something. Dvesha means the binding desire to get rid of something. So aversion, one is extreme liking, the other one is extreme aversion. So I cannot stand that. So that is the dvesha. Raga means I want that. I don't have it right now, and I have a binding desire to get that. Dvesha means I wanted to change that situation. So, or situation or the object or whatever it is the aversion. One is attachment, the other one is aversion. Binding attachment and binding aversion. That is raga and dvesha. And the whole science of the psychology of the Gita is based on this. And this is impossible. As long as you are alive, you have to do that. This Swami Chinmayananda used to say a brilliant story about this raga dvesha. His aversion. Um, what is that plant which has a terrible taste? I forgot. He didn't like a particular vegetable. So what? Being a Swami, he
Bitter
cannot
gourd?
say that I don't like it.
Karela?
Rajesh, is it bitter gourd?
Yeah, exactly.
Karela?
Yeah, Karela. Right. So he didn't like it. So, but he thought, okay, as a Swami, I should not say that. So he went for a picture. The host served this Karela. He thought, okay, I cannot stand this. So let me finish it first. He took that first. The host thought that, okay, he likes it. So he started serving it more. So somehow he escaped. The next day he went to the other house. He saw that it's full of Karela because this host phoned and told the other people, so Amji like it. So the more you try to avoid what happened, the more it came after him. It was only a joke. See, everybody has likes and dislikes. But means you should not, when there is a conflict between likes and dislikes and dharma, I should have the ability to control of the mind to follow dharma at will, not by suppression. This is the whole psychology of Gita. So initially what happens? What my raga dvesha and dharma are 180 degree. Whatever like, it is completely against dharma. And whatever I don't like, it is dharma. Duryodhana tells, right? Janam yatharmam nachame pravurtihi. Janam yatharmam nachame nivritti. I know exactly dharma, but I cannot do it. And I know what is adharma, but I cannot stop doing it. This is the typical lakshana of every individual. So it's understand that likes and dislikes will be there as long as we are alive, but are we under their control? So the difference is what I feel to do versus what I need to do without creating any mental pressure. This is the skill that is being taught in the Gita. So the third chapter is going to give a brilliant verse, which is one of the most important verses of the Gita, the influence of raga dvesha, which we'll see in the third chapter from next week.
Thanks.
Sanjay ji, this is means I know that you undertook this the second chapter. Any comments or any thoughts you want to share?
No, pretty much you have summarized it so well. The one thing that I wanted to just take some more information on Sthit Pragya. That was something. I mean, I'm trying to read through like from 54 to 62, and still like having a lot of questions on that. Like how to achieve this Sthit Pragya.
Right. But the thing is, one thing I would say, we can talk about this more. When I started the Sthita Prajna from verse 55 to 72, I said what? This is the characteristics of a Jnani. Realized. We are not at that level at all. Neither you nor me or any one of us sitting here are not there. We are still striving, right? So our focus should be on what? Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga and a little bit of scriptural study every day. So what is Karma Yoga? What you can do right now today is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means at least knowingly I'm not doing any tamasic actions. That's it. Somebody was asking, how do I know that my company, they did, the other day somebody mailed me, Like, I'm working in pharmaceutical industry. How do I know that the medicines they are giving is ethical or not? I said that, like, see, you knowingly under the norms of the land, are you doing anything wrong? That's it. That means you're avoiding the tamasic action. That's it. Don't worry about the other things too much. Then 80 to 90% of the actions are rajasic actions. It is action. You are the only beneficiary. That is fine. But are you doing that 10% of the swatik action? What is that swatik action we need to do every day, if possible, is the Panchamahayajna. Are you studying your scriptures 15 minutes? You know how much time I study Bhagavad Gita? 15 minutes every day. That's it. Only 15 minutes. But there is not going to be a single day I won't be studying 15 minutes. If I cannot study, I will be listening to 15 minutes. If I cannot do by any means, if I cannot do the study by any means, next day I will make sure that 30 minutes is studied. That's it. Isn't difficult? 15 minutes is difficult?
No, not at all.
So,
Not at all.
15 minutes. 15 minutes study is good for scriptures. And then if you want to read anything, because I read other books, means I read more than 15 minutes. But Bhagavad Gita, if you think I read only 15 minutes, not less, not more. 15 minutes. Bhagavad Gita is a daily studying scripture for me. It is in my Kindle, it is in my phone. So you can, this is the beauty of the Kindle nowadays, right? You can, it means if your iPad is not with you, it is going to be in your phone. You can read and contemplate. It's so convenient that God has given us all the tools. Earlier, imagine you have to look at this, how many books you need to carry. Everything is in our fingertips right now. And the talks, means I'll put more talks of great masters like Swami Chinmayananda, etc. You can listen 15 minutes if you don't, mean sometimes, some days you don't feel like listening. Or some days it may not be possible. Compensate that in the next day. Why? Because just you want to make sure that you're committed to that. That is Brahma Yajna. Bhuta Yajna. Bhuta Yajna means just have one or two plants. That's all. That itself is really good. Plant one or two plants, or like take care of a pet, or if nothing is possible, when you go to say a PetSmart or something, put $1 there. That's good. That's really, it means a lot. Consciously, you're supporting the nature. Consciously, you're supporting the nature. And when you walk outside, if you see some trash coming down, just take and put it in the trash can. Don't throw plastic somewhere outside. These are all what? Bhuta Yajna. Just consciously do little bit of that, whatever that comes in front of you. Then what? Manushya Yajna. Talk to somebody, right? Or help some people, sponsor a kid, or support somebody to get a job, or help somebody with something. If there is no money, just listen to somebody. Nowadays, even getting a listening ear itself is a luxury. That is very important. So Manushya Yajna. Then what? The next yajna is Pitru Yajna. People always go and mechanically do their rituals and say that Pitru Yajna is done. Pitru Yajna means, what about the living members of your family? 5 minutes family time, is that difficult? Have a 5 minutes with your kids and children and parents. Just give 5 minutes to them. Talk to them. Love them. That's Pitru Yajna. And finally, Deva Yajna. If you are a devotee, just do a 5-minute prayer. One prayer, 5 minutes. 5 minutes again, all these put together, it will be less than an hour. This is the Swatik Yajna. So if you do this with the proper attitude, right? So one thing I try to do is, at least I say that whatever possible, I would say that, okay, this is an offering to God, and whenever I get the results, not always you cannot be that equanimity, because sometimes, okay, with respect to a promotion, you might be equanimous, but when you get a terminal disease, you may not. That's okay. That's understandable. But at least you surrender to the will of the God and understand that He will take care of you. So that attitude, if you follow this Karma Yoga itself, that is great. And then Upasana Yoga. Remember the Upasana Yoga 4 steps I gave you? The first thing is you have to take care of your body. appropriate food, quality, quantity. I'm not saying that you have to eat this food or that food. No, what is good for your body? That's it. That is the definition given in the Gita. Gita is not going to say that you should be a vegetarian or non-vegetarian, nothing. It said what is good for your body. That's it. So look at that. Let's keep it there. And then everything else is interpretation. Then yuktahara viharasya, like your appropriate food, appropriate quantity, quality, appropriate level of activity, appropriate level of recreation, appropriate level of sleeping. This will take care of your body. Look at this definition 6,000 years back. No, well, I have gone through, I'm a certified life coach, so I know what exactly they are talking in the life coaching. Nothing more you can see than this particular teaching. It's amazing. Then what? Speech. You have to make sure that what you speak is like jihwame mathumattama. That is what the Vedas tells. Let honey flows through your mind. It means the tongue. You will see a lot of people, you will start developing a lot of relationship when you start controlling what comes out of your mouth. Remember the joke I used to say, Swami Chinmayananda's joke, like there are two categories of people. One people makes you happy wherever they go. Second people makes you happy whenever they go. That is the two category of people. So just be in that first category. Wherever you go, you bring happiness. So that is one thing is jihwame mathumattama. So it's simple thing to do, but it makes a huge difference. So second, upasana, conscious doing. The third is make sure that you're putting a control on what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you touch. Again, I like Swami Chinmayananda's quote here. He used to say that don't make your mind a public, like a public toilet. Don't let other people to dump everything and anything into your mind. So just see what you take. So control of that. And finally, meditation practice. We talked about 4 meditative practice. At least do one of the meditative practice. And at least if you cannot do anything, remember I said at least 3 times make a conscious breath. Make a conscious breath. You should be completely aware of that. Means in the search inside yourself tells, which is exactly, you can see that in the Tripura Rahasya also. The comment is breathe as if this is your last breath. Your life dependent upon that. That is how it says. So if you make a mistake, your life is gone. So then you will be giving that much attention. So be conscious. So relaxation meditation, concentration meditation, value meditation, and expansion meditation. These are the different types of meditations, but at least do some meditation, 5 minutes meditation. So this karma yoga and upasana yoga is where we need to spend, as a group, we need to spend more time. Sorry, I know that this is being explained multiple times, but I just wanted to shift our attention from the Brahmajnana state to the practical state. This is the practical state. You may not get the Brahmajnana now, this year, this life, but the practice of Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga is going to give Karmasu Kaushalam, efficiency in action. It gives you more happiness and contentment. Mahesh.
And
yeah, please, Sanjay ji,
and
please.
Rajesh, just quick update on that, like for the 15 minutes point that you mentioned. There are 2 apps which are coming in next few weeks. One is from Chinmaya just for the Gita. So they will have verse by verse. If somebody wants to hear the complete chapter, or if they want to hear particular set of like 1 to 5. So that will be available in next 2-3 weeks. And then I think Anu also knows that there is from Dattatreya mission, there is another one that is coming soon too.
Nice. Nice. I think one more thing we need to be very mindful is that all these are great masters. Let's take whatever that is good from every tradition. So Chinmaya tradition, the Dattatreya tradition, Arshavidya Gurukulam, ISKCON, even though they follow the dualist philosophy, but still you have to approach everybody with reverence and respect, because Gita is a great ocean and we have to respect all that. So thanks for bringing that up. Mahesh, you have any comments you want to add?
Yeah, Rajesh, you talked about emotional intelligence, like it is the right appropriate amount of intelligence to a particular condition.
Yeah, no, what I said was appropriate emotion proportional to circumstances. This is one of the definition given by the pioneer of emotional intelligence, Daniel Goldman. So this definition comes in the book called Emotional Intelligence More Than IQ. There is a famous book. So in that book, Daniel Goldman does a detailed analysis. He said anybody can become angry. This is a famous statement by Aristotle himself. But the right anger at the right place at the right time, it's impossible for anybody. So we all get the emotions, but most of the time that emotions are not appropriate to the situation. I get angry where I need sadness, where I get frustration, where I mean, in a place where I need empathy. So that's why it is a skill to bring appropriate emotion. And also sometimes even if you get anger, there is a situation where you demands anger. What happens? If you need two units of anger, practically what you get is 500 units of anger. So that is not good. So this is the two conditions highlighted by Daniel Goldman. It's a must-read book for all of you. This book, Emotional Intelligence More Than IQ. I believe it is there in our library. So please refer that book. That's an excellent book.
If I have, is there a quantifying mechanism like IQ? There is a number, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if people are very intelligent, they have high IQ.
Yes.
So is there any optimal value for emotional intelligence?
Yes.
Or is it?
Yes, it is. There is an EI, emotional intelligence, or some people call it as emotional quotients. So if you go to that Daniel Goldman book, you can do a questionnaire. By doing that questionnaire, you will see how much is your emotional intelligence score. So IQ measurement is also like that, right? It means depending upon how do you interpret, IQ is your analytical skills, your intelligence. Once upon a time, it is believed that IQ alone is going to determine the successful people in the world outside, but not at all. Equally important is the EI, emotional intelligence. So a combination of IQ and EI is the right skill. And that's what Gita gives a lot of importance to this emotional intelligence part also. Because otherwise, these high performers, like high graders in the schools would be the high. Look at who is Bill Gates, dropout, Steve Jobs, all these people. But it's very important. So this is an important skill. So I will send you a questionnaire. Those who wanted to take that test, I will send you that EI score. You can measure that. But know that all these things are approximate measurements. Even the IQ test is an approximation. It's not the best, but it gives you an indication.
So to answer your question, Rajesh, Geeta helped me a lot. I've been going through these classes a lot. The way
This is the second or third iteration you are having with me.
Yeah. So the way I use it is, I now know when not to react. And that has helped me a lot, even in my personal life and also in my professional life. Earlier, without Geeta, I used to react. I didn't have the emotional intelligence. Not that I have now, but at least I know when not to react, and that has given me a lot of positive things in my life.
Personally, for me, which I earlier I used to see, means this is, I'm sure a lot of you might have understood this. At least I know that, right? Earlier, I never used to appreciate this normal situation. When I get up, when I'm able to, I have a job, at least the family is safe. Never used to see that as a state of joy. But at least that realization comes. Appreciate what you have. That's very important. And you get it once you study these things. So, Anu, you chant this chapter multiple times. So now once you get the meaning, do you see any difference here?
Definitely, Rajesh. I think every verse, every detail you give in each chapter is so helpful. As Mahesh ji was saying, yeah, the amount of reaction on unnecessary things has come down a lot. Exactly to me also.
Excellent. But know that it is not my explanation. There's nothing copyrighted to me. It's all Gita, right? So any teacher to that matter is a speaker. That's it. The actual content comes from ancient wisdom. So any mistake definitely belongs to the teacher, but any wisdom belongs to that actual teachings of the rishis. This is very important.
But you made it clear and accessible. You shared it with us. That was so wonderful. I really am so thankful for that.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the session.
Now when you chant, just contemplate the meaning. It takes you to a different state. So means, yeah, I would suggest you to comment about Gita more than like the teaching is nothing. So let's talk about the Gita more. So Rathika or Gina, any comments? Gina, you're doing a lot of practices, so probably the real yoga, the yoga you learn, the real yoga is brilliantly defined here, and you'll hear more in the other chapters.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard the yoga beginning, I was always thinking the yogasana is yoga, right? You are the first one to tell me that is not. But one thing is about you were talking about upasana yoga. All the not only the Bhagavad Gita but all the Vedanta thread is exactly the same. Exactly. So now the question is, and what you really need is that karma yoga and upasana yoga. That's where you should be putting to get the adhikaritvam. You are putting more time there. However, what I found is that when you learn more, I mean, there is exactly the same thing. All the entire Bhagavad Gita, entire Upanishad, everything is coming down to that one thing. But when then obviously there is a question that why do you want to learn more? But what I found is that when you both are kind of complementary, when you hear about this, that's going to help you sit more for upasana yoga or do more for karma yoga. And the more you do the karma yoga, upasana yoga, it's kind of helping you with your Vedanta, the Gita study. So it's kind of more complementary. So
I agree.
My question, like, do we want to really study a lot more of these? Actually, yes. So it is kind of helping each other. So
my experience is the same thing, because essentially you summarized it very well. Because now when you go to the other scripture, like we studied the second chapter, now third chapter up to 18, it's the same content: karma yoga, upasana yoga, jnana yoga, but in different languages, different, but something that is called reinforced learning. Like whenever you train a dog, what do? Like you give a treat when she sits or he sits, and again and again and again. So this is reinforcement in different verses, different languages, by different styles. So that's it. But that is very helpful. At least I feel that even for doing karma yoga and upasana yoga, this constant study is very helpful. It's a great observation, Gina.
Mm-hmm. That was my question at the beginning. It's like, why do we want to study like 108 Upanishad? But I think each day that you hear, it's kind of taking you closer and closer there, even though it is all the same thing, but it kind of gives you a different perspective. Yeah.
Yep. No, I used to think the same thing, because, for example, if you take Atma Bodha and Gita, same thing. But sometimes when the Atma Bodha has certain verses, especially that 25 to 35 verses, I think brilliantly explains the nature of the Atma very nicely, right? So he tells like, this is the body, this is this. So what belongs to Atma, what not belongs to Atma. So it's a reinforcement, because that's very important. And especially yoga, I feel that this teaching is very much important for the yoga teachers, because otherwise they say union of what? Without understanding this, they just mechanically say union. Yoga is union. Every yoga teacher tells. But people don't even realizing something. Yoga, the word has two meaning, right? That is very important. Yuj, the Sanskrit root yuj has two different interpretation, right? So when the word root is combined with a pratyaya, a word meaning is derived. So the word yoga can be interpreted in two different ways. One is called yuj melani, which means it's a union, connection, integration. What? With your Jivatma and Paramatma. That is the ultimate yoga. Correct. That is true. That is what people say. Yoga means, even the yoga studios say yoga is union of, and different types of union they say. They say body and mind, etc. That's okay, all okay. But there is a different meaning also. Yujito iti samadhi, a stable mental state. First focus should be given on that more than the union. Union is at the highest level, but the current need is the samadhi, which is the stability and the purity of the mind. And Patanjali, who is the pioneer of yoga, defines yoga as what? Chitta vritti nirodha. It's coming from the second definition. That's what it is. Rajesh ji, Pallavi, Pradeep ji, Sarita ji, Ratnagar ji, any comments?
Yes, I just wanted to thank you for what you summarized today. Yeah, whenever you are explaining, we understand everything, but when it comes to put it in a practice, like you gave little small examples, how we do what we should do towards the society or towards ourselves or towards the family, like each small little example, those were really brilliant. I mean, sometimes we listen on a large scale, but we don't know how to implement that in our daily life. So what you explained, like for an example, if we go by the pet store, we just donate, put some money. So small little things that is really helpful, and it makes a lot of sense. Like it's kind of a summarize for the whole thing that you say. And it's very interesting when you are saying, but when you give us these examples for the day-to-day life, it makes more sense to us. But
Yep.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate and enjoying your class so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
For me
Yeah,
personally,
Rajesh, this is Sarita. Yes, I also want to just echo what others have been saying. Huge. I would say I think I started coming to your classes maybe a year back. It's that led to I would say a life-changing perspective on spirituality for me. So I was, I was, of course, I was quite devotional even before then, but the aspect of Vedanta was completely new to me. So your lectures, and as well as all the references that you kept giving us, I looked them up, and so I'm a regular listener of Swami Sarvapriyananda as well. So,
Nice.
and in fact, I listened to his Gita classes as well to yours. So I have notes which cross-reference
Wow.
your lecture as well as his lectures. So, I mean, it's thought-provoking lectures, and again, as Anu said, as Mahesh said, I think how I react to situations has certainly changed, and that is something which I never could bring about before. I think so Geeta has certainly made a difference there. I've not become perfect by any measure, and I don't think that's a goal anymore either. So, but it has helped me a lot. And so I cannot express my gratitude enough, but I think the best way of showing gratitude to you or to Swamiji and the others is to lead a life that can that is according to what is said in the Gita. So
We'll listen to Swamiji in our program. So he.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Rajesh bhai.
Yeah, please.
Namaste.
Namaste.
My name is Bharati. Bharati
Namaste,
Mehta.
Bharati. Yeah.
Haji, namaste. And I'm Rohit Mehta's wife.
Yeah, I know. Thank you for joining.
And been listening to you whenever I can.
Thank you. Thanks.
Rohit,
Thanks for coming.
Rohit is so much dedicated.
I know. He used to come to all. He comes to all the classes and is so happy to have such a wonderful set of people around us.
And it has absolutely changed the atmosphere in our household.
Nice. Thank you.
Because now he wants to listen to your pravachans. And I call it pravachan, I don't call it session or lecture. But I have been following Pandurang Shastri Athole for some time. So I've been reading Gita ji, recitation, everything. But now Rohit has joined you. So that brings so much pleasure in our house.
Thank you. And this is not a pravachan by any means. So please don't, that means I'm just like you all only. So let's keep that level. Venkat, good to see you here. Please. Yeah, please go ahead, Bharati ji. Yeah, you want.
The only reason I call it pravachan is you've been talking about what has been given to us by ancient sages.
Oh, yeah.
And you're bringing it us and explaining to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good. Venkat, good to see you.
Good to see everybody. So I'm a secret participant today, but I am a very active listener to your teachings offline. That is why I always look for those video uploads. I always bother yourself and Rajesh Menanji about the missing videos. But just as I think everybody is providing their perspective and their experience, I felt I would share my experience as well. The way I look at it is you had shown a path that allows me to experience the true happiness. It has started it's been a while. I truly understand the true happiness and I experience it. And it's not just I experience it, it's also spreading across that the people I come across, that the people I interact often, and I also observe similar experiences of the happiness in them as well. Speechless. So
I know how you applied that in your life situation. So that's yoga karmasu kaushalam, efficiency in action. How you use that in your life situations and managed it. So it's easy to talk, but applying that is very difficult, and you did that. That's
and as you experiences it, and then you listen into your teachings, and what more evidence you need, right? It just increases your thinking about the teachings even much more stronger, right? I think, and one thing interesting that I am starting to realize is, I think it's one of the verses, I think you covered it. I think once you learn and once you practice, at some point you don't really need to hold on to it.
Correct.
I also start to realize that now.
Yep.
It's not like I remember all the verses. I can't pronunciate those verses. I tried to attend one of Anu's class, and I very quickly realized that's not my space. But to me, it's the experience part. It is simply too powerful. Like I'm just questioning myself. Like when I'm faced with a real tough. I'm 42 years old. I've seen a lot, but I'm not like panicking. It's the total reverse.
Yeah, no.
What is happening here? Yeah. And that is where your point comes into picture, the efficiency in action. I'm able to decide what I need to take, what I need to do,
right,
and I'm able to execute it. I think it's at the office or at home, I'm also able to influence my kids, my friends. So, salute to you, sir. Thank you.
No, salutation to Gita. That's what makes us. So any comments, Deepji, Ratnakarji, anybody? Otherwise, we'll go to Anu to chant this chapter for us.
Rajesh, I'm very, very happy if I can keep digesting Gita, which just keeps coming in. That itself is good enough for me. I think the effervescence will naturally happen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So as long as I can keep the doors open for it to keep going in, I'm okay. Perfectly fine. It'll take its own time. Whatever is going to come out, will come out. Like it has to come out on its own. I'm not going to force anything into it. So
it will come out.
Yeah, always great to continue to come to everything, Rajesh.
Excellent. So now,
Rajeshji.
Yes, Sanjayji.
Sorry, I mean, actually, I was in Trader's Joe, so I couldn't talk to you. But I just wanted to take 2 minutes to share my experience in last 1 year, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, I mean, like, I think I remember I started joining your class about a little over a year back when Arnav introduced me to this class. So, I mean, it has been so wonderful journey so far, and I was introduced to Geeta in 2003 when I was doing my master's in business administration, and there was a great. I mean, he is still there. He's a great Geeta lecturer, and I think at that time I was not prepared for it. But in last 1 year, when I started joining your class, Rajeshji, I mean, I was just like getting into that, and it has changed my life so much that I used to get angry on very small things, like and very impassionate about like getting things done and all those, but like not having a proper balance. But in last 1 year, things have changed so much that now I started taking a pause, thinking through that, okay, why this is needed, how it has to be done, and like how I can make it better actually. So those things have changed over like last few months, and with the COVID situation, there are days when I'm attending 4 or 5 lectures in a day. Like this morning, I attended Vikrantji's lecture, then Chinmaya class, adult study group. Then 2 o'clock, I am doing this assessment for Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5 and 4. So, and every moment I'm enjoying it. Like as you said, like 15 minutes of Gita. I think I'm going to 1 hour, an hour and 15 minutes every day, and loving it so much actually. That every day is like, okay, how can I get more? How can I get more about it? So it's been wonderful journey, and salute and thank you so much to you for giving us so detailed analysis for each and every verse.
Really happy to hear that. Means I said 15 minutes because I always believe in keeping a target which is manageable. That way, otherwise it will fade away, right? So that's why I said one meditation means at least one conscious breath. That you cannot do. Skip it. It's easy. So that is easy. So this is great. Thank you. And with this background, we will go to chapter 3. I'm going to go a little bit more deep now. So now you have the background. So I'm going to go a little bit of Shankara's commentary, insight. Not exactly the Sanskrit form, but we are going to go a little bit deeper into 3rd chapter. We are going to try and unfold the... See, the thing is, it's like when you get... there are multiple ways you can learn a skill. Like initially you can have a high-level understanding of that subject, but when you go deep, you'll start enjoying more. So we'll start a little bit more in-depth study of chapter 3. Chapter 3 is wonderful chapter, which is talking about Karma Yoga. 3, 4, and 5, we are going to talk about Karma and Jnana Yoga. So this, people are confused about these things. So we are trying to understand that in depth. So That is the next 3 chapters. So we'll start with chapter 3. Chapter 3, you'll see these Panchamahayajna, all these things are going to come there.
Rajesh, I think Rajesh Menon and Radhika were trying to share something.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Yeah, Radhika and Rajesh ji, sorry.
So actually, so what I was about to say, I think everybody covered, and then Gina already brought up her points. I mean, we used to discuss, like, one point, whatever she brought up is about how all the scripture, all the books, whatever we try to read different books, and then everything is following pretty much the same thread. So that now we understand, probably it is expressed in different ways, but, but bottom line, now we are very clear about how is what you guys